things like that. And what I keep coming back to, is just this idea that things seem to go better and more meaningful if there's some kind of an interaction. So with the pandemic, there was an awful lot of. I immediately had to switch to online teaching when that whole thing started.
We kind of all went online.
Yeah, we all kind of did for a little while. So we spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out what that would look like. So now all this time later, we're starting to get a little better at it. So
we thought, why not venture into guitar?
Yeah,
club.
Exactly.
But we do have an ukulele club that we started, and that's kind of what gave us the idea. Is like now it's kind of turned into a beautiful community around the world.
Yeah.
And we play fun songs together, but we love ukulele, but guitar is our main thing.
Guitar is the thing. So tonight's the first night we do it. That we've done this. We have kind of a plan for what we'd like to do.
We have a cool plan,
and we'd like to kind of go forward with it. But because it's new, like we're not 100% sure how it's going to evolve going forward. But basically, the essential thing is we're gonna, like, this week we have a backing track that we're gonna put out.
We have some resources,
and we have some resources along with it. There's different people at different levels, which is fine. So what we thought we would do is just kind of put the material out. Let's all, like, we'll work with it a little bit. Talk about suggestions about ways to handle it, and then we'll just kind of go from there and see what evolves. So
yeah, that's why it's a club.
Yeah,
you guys are participants.
Yeah,
we all steer the ship together.
Yeah. So we thought we'd kind of start with what the stuff that we kind of feel like we're good at it, which is kind of jamming with guitar. We like jamming with guitar.
Yeah.
So how many of you are actually in the New England area? Okay. All right.
Awesome.
So good. All right.
Dave's all the way in California.
Yeah.
What about Robert? Should we introduce each other? These are all our guitar friends.
Yeah.
Oh, Robert.
Whoop.
He was frozen. Oh, he's coming back in.
Okay.
All right. So, do you want to introduce? Should we play? What do you guys want to do?
So, all right. So here's what we're going to do.
We're going to play. John will tell us what to do.
If let's see. Do you want to put a link to the track in the Zoom chat?
Okay. Did everybody who is here right now, are you on the mailing list, and did you receive an email?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you probably all have the links to the resources, but I will also put it in the chat, and I will put it also on YouTube. I did. You can find all the resources on the link I just put if you're joining us on YouTube.
Yeah.
And now I will put it in the chat, and you'll be able to download 2 different backing tracks and 2 PDFs.
Yeah. So there's 2 versions of the backing track. There's the simple one and there's the slightly less simple one.
Yeah.
Kind of what we were thinking was, depending upon who's here, if the more complex one is just a bit too much, then then we can just stick with the simpler one.
But even the simple one is.
But I can tell just by looking at you guys, you're going to be able to handle the more complex one. I know that.
You guys are holding your guitars like experts here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, there's Steve Marchena, one of my if you don't know Steve Marchena, he's an incredible guitar player. You got to go check him out. I've known him for years.
We'll get to know each other too. All of us. Make sure you're tuning. Oh, Robert's back. He might be. I hope we're not having a bad signal.
All right, so there he is. Okay, so
Let's
how about this?
Play.
So all right, so we're just gonna play on. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
I'll go first. Okay. So
I'm actually going to share the chord sheet real quick while you're playing, if that's okay.
Yeah. All right. So here's the chord progression. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
All right. Cool. All right. Here we go.
Oops, we're not all the way.
Yeah.
Christmas after all.
Yeah. So thank you.
Hey, thanks.
So
That's what we're doing today.
yeah. So one of the reasons why we wanted to start with a chord progression like this is that so much about rock guitar pedagogy is about soloing over minor chords. You know what I mean? One of the first things you learn is A minor pentatonic.
Right.
So um, it's one of those things. It's almost like it's more difficult I think, to get a major chord progression to sound melodic in the same way that it seems easier to me to solo over minor pentatonic chord stuff. I don't know. That just seems more
For me
intuitive
too.
to me. Yeah. So
sometimes if I'm in a major key, I'll pick the minor pentatonic. That's
Right,
relative.
right.
Just
And
play that too, because I like that sound.
Yeah, and that doesn't ever not work. So that's kind of why we picked a chord progression like this. And then, so what happens is, there's like an 8-bar chord progression that happens, but it gets repeated. And then there's a different one that goes like F, G, A, F, G, D, F.
There's 16.
F, F, G, yeah.
16 bars.
16 bars? Okay.
A is 16, B is 16.
Is it 16?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, yeah.
9, 10.
Oh, so the A section, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, okay. So the A section 16 bars, which is repeated, so that's 32 bars, and 24 bars, so there's another 16 bars for the B section.
And then back to the A.
And then back to.
So it's a nice long section for you to mess around,
Yeah.
And I think what we like about it is if you are new to improvisation, some of you are, and we'll get to the more advanced section, but you can play A major over the whole thing, which is pretty cool, because all of the chords in the first section are in the key of A.
Okay, so actually, you know what? I was just thinking, let's take a quick poll. So how many of you have been playing guitar for a year or less?
I think we asked in the little questionnaire, but I didn't really check.
Okay, so 1 year to 5 years. Okay, 5 years to 10 years. Longer than 10 years.
We have a bunch of experts here.
Okay.
We're really going to jam tonight.
All right. Okay, so.
Sweet. So is A major a comfort zone? You feel good about it? All right, cool. So let's talk about, do you want to talk about the scales and arpeggios we have?
Well, okay. So we, all right. Before I do, one of the things I just wanted to mention really quickly is the way that we have our rig set up is that we're plugging both of our guitars into a mixing board that goes along with a microphone. And then I've got a separate laptop computer over here that's playing the backing tracks, and all of that stuff is being fed into a mixer, which is being fed into the first two inputs of our audio interface. The reason why we do it that way is because Zoom has this weird quirk that it will only recognize the first two inputs of your audio interface. So even though we have like 36 inputs at the audio interface, Zoom only sees the first two. So
it's not set up for us people.
Yeah, so
they're trying.
Yeah, so when we're playing backing tracks and both of us playing guitar together, the way we're doing it is we're feeding all the audio sources into a mixer, and the output of the mixer is going to the input of the audio interface. The reason why I'm mentioning that is because I'm kind of hoping that maybe some of you might be willing to play the backing track on your end and let us hear you improvise. If you want.
No pressure.
That's okay. So I just want.
But we want to give you the opportunity to play over it too.
Yeah.
Eventually, as we move forward too.
Yeah.
We want it to be a collaborative effort and not just us.
Yes.
Broadcast only.
Okay. So one of the settings that we just changed is that also is that we just set the meeting so that everybody has the capability to share their own screen. And that's another trick, is that you can bring the track up on your screen, click share screen, and then click share computer audio. That's another way to do it.
Now, would we be able to hear?
Yeah.
Would there be latency between the playing and the?
Well, the thing is, if you're doing the share screen thing, it's less reliable in terms of in terms of syncing between the audio and the, the microphone audio and the computer audio.
Well, that's okay. So if you're not ready to play today, that's okay. What we want to do is, why don't we talk about the sheet that we have to accompany the backing track real quick. I was going through this today and I realized I never added our little G mixolydian right here for the B section, but I can easily add that and, redo it. But
yeah.
So what we have here is, this sheet is pretty cool because it shows the chords and then it kind of gives you a little roadmap of what you can play over each section. This is the key of A, so you can play that A major scale over it, but we can switch from A major pentatonic anytime we're on the 1 chord. We'll play D major pentatonic on the 4. When we get to this F sharp, you can play F sharp minor, but also A major. We can also play E major pentatonic or mixolydian on this section, and then it's just a little repeat for the second half. And then when we get to the B section here, we've changed to the key of C, is these first 3 lines, and then the last line gives us the key of G, which is super fun. So the first 2 bars, you can play A minor pentatonic or Aeolian. Over the A again, same thing as in the first section. Then we got some more Fs here. When we get to the 4, you can add D Lydian, which is a lovely sound, but also the D major pentatonic works good too. Then we've got the F again. We've got the G. Then we've got A again. Then when we get to these chords were in C, so you can play A minor pentatonic or A Dorian. And then we've got the 4 chords, so D major pentatonic again. Then we've got E major pentatonic or mixolydian for these last 2 chords. So does that roadmap make sense as we're moving forward? Okay, cool. And we have all the scales written out here. They're kind of grouped by letter.
Yeah.
I didn't really do it alphabetically though. That's
yeah.
okay.
Again, we're still trying to figure. See, when it comes to something like this, the simple solution is, all the chords are in the key of A, so just play A.
Which works for a lot of things, actually.
And it works for a lot of things, but one of the things that, like, when I was improvising over it, one of the things I was really trying to find was melodic opportunities that really kind of pin down what's happening with the chord progression. Mm-hmm. Because like the first half, right, goes A to D to A, then A, F sharp minor to E. Now I could continue to play an A major scale over that E chord. Right, but it doesn't. But the thing is, focusing on it as an A major scale, it kind of misses the point of why it's an E chord. The E chord is the 5. So when you get to the E chord, then back to the A chord. See how, like, when I go from the E chord to the A chord, there's a certain resolution that happens with the chords that I think it's useful to know how to also know how to do that with your improvisation as well. So in other words, it's not just so Julie's guide to the A major pentatonics so she's got pentatonics, arpeggios, and scales to go with each chord.
Yeah.
And I think by playing through them, it's one of the things that's cool is she has a lot of them in similar positions, so you can kind of see how the notes are slightly different, right?
Yeah.
So what's the first one? A major.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first 2 measures lay out the first 4 measures lay out an A major scale. Go ahead. So anytime there's an A major scale,
A
you can
major
play
if
that
it's a
scale,
one chord. Yeah.
right? In fact, that's the group of notes that's going to be diatonic to most of the chords in the chord progression. So
Especially
you
that
could
first
literally,
section.
like I was saying earlier, you could just play that if you wanted to, that wanted that sound. Okay, so go ahead. Right? And it
And
all
over and over.
works, but it's like, and now he's going to play a major scale for you. Right?
But I did
And
notice your choices. When we get to the D chord, you kind of
well,
chose appropriate note.
well, yeah. I mean, after a while, you just start to hear it that way.
Hmm.
So okay. So what's the next one? A minor is a the second was A Aeolian.
Yeah,
So
and we can play the A minor chord over the F or the A minor scale over the F chord, right? Or we can play the A minor pentatonic too.
yeah. Right. Now the A Dorian works over the C to D. Right? And then finally at the end of that it goes to E mixolydian, which is the key of A. Right. So the suggestion is, practice these things until you know them so well that you don't have to think about it. But then when you're improvising, don't play the scales, play the melody. So it's kind of the same as like you don't use every letter of the alphabet when you're conveying a thought.
A B C D E F G H I J K L M N P.
Right. You kind of never go back and go, wait, I didn't use the letter K.
K L M N. I'll get it next time.
John and Julie, not to interrupt your thought flow here, but a question for you.
Sure.
When you're utilizing these scales in this context, as you say, they have to be like a reflex action. You don't even think about them. But are you consciously thinking about targeting the tonal center of each chord, or is it just something that comes in a reflexive manner?
That's a really good question.
That's a great question. Okay, so when I'm improvising, it's sort of the same. For me the thought process is similar. Like I remember when my kids were really little. Every night they wanted me to read them a bedtime story, and after a while I got tired of telling them the same stories over and over. So I finally got to a point. It's like, okay, tonight I'm going to make up a story. So I would start with something like, one day a long time ago, this a pirate ship left the court, left the shores of England and was off to adventures, and then I would just sort of take a few minutes and try to make up some kind of an adventure that happened. And for some reason the kids loved it when I did it, even though I was like racking my brains out trying to come up with something interesting. But it was an interesting improvisational exercise because I had to come up with something a little bit different every night because
But
my
probably stay close to the actual story.
yeah, but so it was essentially, like one day there was a beautiful princess and she was walking in the woods and she got lost. So when I'm improvising over chord progression, that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Is that same kind of mindset? It's like, okay, I've got these chords. These chords feel a certain way. They kind of present this kind of a feeling, okay? And then the letters and words that might be involved that convey that are here, 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 and here, and here. Now tell the story. Okay? So I'm not. So in other words, I think what comes out is what you're thinking about is what comes out in your improvisation. So I think if I'm playing in a way to make sure that everybody knows that I know my scales, I think that might be interesting to a very tiny little segment of the audience that loves to listen to music.
Sure.
And for me, that's not why I love the way a player improvises.
This,
So
well, can I
go
want
ahead.
to, I don't, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I just had a thought. What I did was I like to hear each scale against the chord. So when, like when we get to that D Lydian, I happen to love Lydian. So when I'm playing, if I just happen to play, if you have a looper, you can just hold that D chord and just play that scale over the chord. And then there's going to be certain notes that stick out to you. Like in John's mind, a ship. He was like, the ship is really important. So,
Right.
Perhaps
There's the sail flapping in the breeze.
There's certain notes for each scale that really will enhance the chord and make it sound like Dorian. So those are the target notes I like to shoot for, but sometimes it just goes by so fast I end up just gravitating towards my own little riffs. And we just made this yesterday, so
Yeah.
It's like we haven't really had a chance to figure out all the stuff over it. But having the tools, it's really your own personal preference.
Yeah.
I would say the root gets a little tedious.
Yeah.
To start on the root.
Steve, Steve, hold on.
I just wanted to speak to Dustin's question and Julie, what you and John said, it all makes a lot of sense. But this was an idea from this guy, Charlie Banacos, is that, yes, so Dustin, you have the scale and you have all these arpeggios. In my experience, if I'm trying to tell a story, thinking about all the notes in the arpeggios while playing the scale, it's like overwhelming. It's too much technical. So the quick thought that I have on this would be, if you were to play a scale like the A major scale that works over a bunch of chords, but then you target, for example, Julie mentioned the root, maybe start by targeting the root of each chord. So you're not thinking about the arpeggio, you're just thinking of the scale, but the location of the root. After you've done that, maybe target the third, the fifth. This guy, Charlie Banacos, he'd go through and like any tension, like any note that you could play in a chromatic scale, he'd have you target that note over each chord just to get used to the flavor of it.
You get to hear how it sounds in the context.
Just the one thing I wanted to speak to in my own experience, though, is the idea about playing a scale and thinking about all the notes in the arpeggio at the same time while telling a story, that never worked. So I'll pick one note that is in that chord and sort of gravitate towards that.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. And I would say that one of the things that I think about a lot is in terms of targeting. One thing I do sometimes is if there's a chord progression, and there's a particular chord that I want to get to and do some interesting things with. One of the things that I will do is to sort of pre-plan what note I'm going to land on when I get to that chord. And what's so interesting about doing that is that if I do that, what happens is all the phrases that I play that lead up to that note somehow will start to intuitively make more sense.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Just like when when you decide, like when you're telling the story about the ship that leaves the shores of London, of course there has to be an island with pirates on it somewhere, right?
But it has to leave
you know the destination as you're telling the story. Yeah.
Yes,
and you know where you're coming from.
Right. So if you already have the idea that the ship is going to land on an island with pirates, then you know how to tell the story to get the ship to the pirate island. So it's very much the same. Like conceptually, it's very much the same. But Julie's sheet here is just sort of the nuts and bolts of. It's just sort of the nuts and bolts. It's like we're laying out all the crayons and saying, okay, here's red, here's blue, here's brown, okay, now just start getting familiar with all of these, and just get really, just get them, so your word, reflexive.
And just try them and see if you like it too. Because you might try it and go, I don't really like that texture. I want to try this other thing.
Well, that's the genesis of style, right? Is gravitating toward what sounds good to you and what tools or colors don't sound good to you.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
what'll develop your own style for sure.
Okay, so do you want to go through? So do you want to go through the sheet?
Yeah, let's talk about the sheet.
Okay.
I wish I could show them both, huh? There's
Well,
not
let's
really
see.
any way to do that. That's okay. Do you want it? Maybe you could share it. Well, then you'd have to be in there too. That'd be
Yeah.
something else. Okay, so we talked about Ionian, A major. That will go over the whole A section.
And these are only one way to do these. It doesn't. You don't have to play it exactly as it's written here, but it's good to at least have at least one representation.
Yeah, I mean, we did this fingering, but there's also this fingering. Oh. You know,
Yeah.
whatever A major scale you
Yeah.
love best. I think I chose it because I could do the Ionian, the Aeolian, the Dorian all right there.
Yeah.
And also the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic, which I love these. I know we're rock guitar players. But do you want to, should we just play them?
Yeah.
One at a time? Okay,
Yeah.
let's
So
play.
I'll play the chords.
Okay, A major. Okay, now this is A minor, natural minor, or Aeolian. The same. This is gonna.
This is over the F chord, right?
I think so. Let me look at the sheet.
Yeah.
Yep. So we will play that over the F.
So A minor, by the way, as a point, A minor and F Lydian contain the same notes. So if she's playing
Can
an
hear
A
it
minor
sounding
scale,
Lydian to me.
it's F Lydian also. You know.
You probably want to emphasize the F sometime in there too if you're on the F chord.
Yeah.
All right, now we've got A Dorian, which would be over the F
C
chord
and
as
the D,
well.
yeah.
The C. Okay, yeah, the C chord. That's right.
Right.
Okay, now we've got
I'm gonna take
A
a second
major
to tune.
pentatonic. Oh, John's gonna tune.
Sorry about that. I like being in tune.
Stop, crazy guy.
All right.
All right. So A major pentatonic. That's over the A chord also.
Yep.
A minor pentatonic. That's fun over the F.
Yeah, and that plays over the F chord. Now, what's interesting about that is that if you play an A minor pentatonic against an F major chord, you get all the cool notes of the F chord, but you're not playing F, which
Aha.
kind of makes the sound of it kind of float a little bit more. Yeah.
There,
Right.
did it.
Then A major.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the pentatonics.
Cool.
All right, now we have an A major triad arpeggio because I kind of like the. I like to use little clumps of them. So. All right, and then we have an A minor triad arpeggio.
Yeah. just an A minor triad arpeggio over the F chord, you're actually playing all the cool notes of F major 7 without the F. Same kind of idea.
Yeah. I'll do it again.
Yeah. If you want. Yeah, good.
All right, now we have the D major pentatonic, and I just did this in the fifth position because we've done all the A's in the fifth position, and it changes pretty quickly to that D.
Yeah.
All right, D Lydian.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, now we have a D major triad arpeggio. Now we got E major pentatonic. It's the same exact shape, just up 2 frets.
Yeah.
All right. E minor.
Yeah, so that's over the C and D chords.
Yeah, that's nice. Now E mixolydian.
Over the E major chord. Which is, again, that's just the key of A, but starting going from E to E.
Okay, E major triad arpeggio. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I thought I did that one.
Yeah.
That's all right, I didn't. And then we have an E minor. I don't know why I put the E minor. I don't know. It doesn't really go in any of this stuff.
It does. It works over the C to D chord.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so I'll make a note of that. Or maybe if you've printed out the sheet, just go ahead and make a note that can go over the C to the D.
Yeah.
Okay, F sharp minor pentatonic. And an arpeggio.
And the more astute of you will recognize that F sharp minor pentatonic is the same scale as A major pentatonic, right?
Yeah, they're connected.
Yep.
All right, so any questions over any of that stuff? And of course, you can always just play whatever you like over it. Does anyone have anything they gravitate to in the key of A? Any cool scales or patterns or riffs? No? That's all right. No worries. Do you guys have any questions? We still have 20 minutes. We could hang out. Why don't we all introduce ourselves and say where we're from? Because we got some people spread out and some people from New England.
Yeah, and also I'd like to hear from you what kind of things you think you might want to get out of this club.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm
we
Julie.
We have an awful lot of resources that we can offer too.
You know John. I'm Julie.
You
We call ourselves the cutest guitar couple. But I got to graduate from Berkeley in 2017. That was exciting. I love having a degree in guitar. It's like my life's passion. And I've been playing for a very, very long time. I've played in all kinds of bands, currently 80s, which is fun. But my most favorite project is John Finn Group, for good reason. All right.
And she's brought a whole breath of fresh air into the band. I mean, I've it's been a thrill having her in the band.
Oh, that's sweet. All right, who's next? Dustin.
Yeah, so I'm actually located in Saratoga Springs, New York.
Hmm?
I've been, excuse me, playing guitar for the better part of 20, 25 years. Also have a degree in guitar performance and studio engineering.
Cool.
Harvard College, class of 2005.
Congrats.
Just outside of, thank you, just out of college, worked in a recording studio. Didn't pan out, but got a chance to work with some wonderful guitar players. Haven't kept my chops up in the last couple of years. So what I'm hoping to get out of this is really kind of get that chord scale relationship knowledge back into my brain.
Right
Okay.
on.
Not where it needs to be. So, and John, I've been a fan of yours for a long, long time. Got into the John Finn Group albums. And,
Wow.
Eagerly awaiting the next one. It's been a long time since Bull in the China
Yes,
Shop.
it's
Sure
been over
has.
10 years, and we have been writing.
Yep.
So
Good.
there's-
Nice.
so we're hoping to get one out before the year's end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Good
welcome
stuff.
news indeed.
Oh.
So pleasure to be here, guys.
All right. Well,
Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you.
We got Jane Anderson.
We go. Hi, everybody. I met Julie a few years ago through the ukulele group and the ukulele club. And then about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I started taking guitar lessons with Julie. I had taken a many-year hiatus from the classical guitar, and I was looking forward to get back into it, so she helped me get back into that. So my background is classical guitar, so I've got this electric that I
Yeah.
my son. So I want to learn more about the electric. What I'd like to be able to do is to feel more comfortable with improvising. You don't really do that with the classical much, so I'd like to broaden that and get into improvising. My son's 23, and he and his sons will play in the basement, and I'll hear their music, and it sounds great. And when I'm upstairs, I think, wouldn't it be great to be able to just jam along with them upstairs?
Yeah.
Just, by myself. But I sort of feel it inside of me, like I want to jam along with them, but I don't know how to. So that's what I want to be
Okay.
able
Well, I
to
have
do.
to say, at the core of this group will definitely be improvisation. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's
so, yeah.
probably our favorite part of playing music. I can say that for myself.
Wow. Yeah, that would be
And
great to learn.
it's
Yeah.
the kind of thing too. It's like it's for me. It's been like a lifelong journey. To just, I mean, what I always tell people is I'm just trying to like not suck at it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, me too.
Like that's kind of where I'm trying. Like so everything that I do is always about to just try to to just stink a little less.
Oh my gosh.
And
It's so cool to be around this guy.
John, I think
never
if
hear
I may, you just spoke for every guitar player on the planet with that.
Yeah, we were our own worst critics.
So, well,
But
yeah,
it probably keeps us moving forward
yeah.
and striving.
Yeah. So anyway, but thank you. So there's Rich. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Rich. You want to tell us where you're from and what you're into? Your story?
Yes. Can you guys hear me okay?
I sure
Yeah.
can.
So I've been taking lessons with Brad Foucher, who I think organized the event.
Yes.
at
Okay.
the,
Yeah. Sure.
I saw you guys a couple of weeks. I was just totally blown away. Just fantastic playing and
Oh,
really
thank
amazing.
you.
So then I saw your email. I said, I got to kind of get on and kind of learn from these guys as much as I can.
Oh, very
But
cool.
I've been playing for a long time, but mostly rhythm. I play in some bands and on my own, but my weakness is definitely improvisation. So I'm trying to make a concerted effort to focus on that. Typically a pentatonic guy. Now I'm trying to target a little bit, but I don't know the modes. I do the major scale, minor scale, pentatonics, and kind of like triad, so I can kind of target that way. But
Yep.
got a long way to go, but I'm kind of committed to trying to improve my skills in that area.
Well,
Okay.
I'd say you're off to a really good start. We will show you some great tools that have worked for us, and we're going to give you lots of opportunities to practice.
So, okay. So I'm just gonna without getting too far in the weeds in this, one of the things I will tell you that really helped me enormously is don't confuse a fingering for a scale with the sound of the scale.
Right.
Do you know what I
That's
mean?
what you want to
like you can
internalize.
play, like you can play, like you can take an A major scale, right, and play, right. But I could also use the same fingering and play B Dorian, right. But if I'm playing that same group of notes, but she's focusing on A as like the main tonality, then it's still just an A major scale.
I play it over B.
But if she plays something like B going to E9, right? So in other words, what makes it a mode isn't the fingering.
Right.
What makes it a mode is the relationship between the notes that you're playing to each other and to the key and to the chord progression. It's kind of all that stuff mashed together.
It's kind of like there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, down the road, we can definitely dig into stuff into stuff like that. But which is
We're
cool
excited
because
you're here.
yeah, because like we honestly, when we did this, when we put this out, we didn't know who was going to show up.
We're so happy
So,
people came.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
this is
and
stuff
it looks
we
like
love.
yeah, and it looks like we've got some pretty knowledgeable people too.
Yeah, we're lucky.
So like there's Dana Wright. Last time I saw Dana was at a mastering session. I think might have been 1996.
Oh my gosh.
97. Was it that long ago? Were you working with Toby Mountain?
No, I think you might have me mixed up with someone else, John.
Oh,
But the reason why you might remember me is I'm a former student.
yeah,
Oh.
from Walpole Music. I remember. Yeah.
From Berkeley. Yeah, I
Oh,
graduated.
Berkeley. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
that's-
graduated Berkeley in 1996, and I was a former student of yours.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
From the old Cord basketball days. Remember Cord Lab basketball?
Cord Lab basketball. Okay.
Oh, man.
So
we used to
do that.
play Cord Lab basketball.
Okay.
We used to do, like, when you studied with John, you did really bizarre things. I mean, he, as far as the teacher is concerned,
Sounds like
he used
him.
to do some weird things. But yeah,
Oh,
Cord
my
Lab basketball was one of them.
Okay. Wow.
well, okay. So that particular class, it was this required class that you had to take. Steve, did you take a Chord Lab?
I don't think I did. It was like advanced rock guitar performance
Okay,
techniques.
all right.
Yep.
So that was later then. So so Chord Lab was this course that I used to have to teach to all the lower semester students to give them a good basis of chords.
Very
So,
cool. That
you
sounds
know,
like my kind of thing.
Yeah, but the exercises in the book were they were deadly. Like it was.
Oh wow.
Like he would just.
They used to call that the Chord Lab March or the Chord Lab something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's awesome.
so when I first started teaching that, like the kids would just be like their eyes would be rolling back in their in their heads because they were so bored because of the material.
And it sounded so horrible.
But I had to do it, so I invented this game. It's like, okay, all right, so it was split the class into two parts. And they would form teams. So the idea was that if the first team would pick an 8-bar example out of the book, and if they all played it correctly, and the other team agreed that they all played it correctly, then they got the point.
Okay. So there were no balls. No actual balls.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool though.
but it was
Yeah,
really,
it was
it was really
crazy.
fun. Yeah.
Head to head in the class. Oh
So
boy.
okay. So anyway,
Well, thank you for joining us. So
Yes.
what are you looking to get out of this? More Chord Lab basketball?
No, I just wanted to check in and see if John was behaving himself, and
No.
Oh no.
he hasn't changed a bit. But you know what? I got to tell you, I learned a lot from John when I studied with him at Berkeley. I'd like to share one thing really quick. One of the things that really stuck with me was we were having a conversation one time, and John offhandedly said to me, "You know, Dana, there's a big difference between knowing and owning." And that like hit me like a bolt of lightning, because you really can, you really can say to yourself, okay, do you know a C major scale? And you can say, well, yeah, it's this. But that's not the same as being able to solo
Right.
with it.
Correct.
So I've always, when I try to learn things now, actually ever since then, when I try to learn something now, I'm always constantly asking myself that question: do I know it or do I own it? Because because music is like a language, you have to own it to really be able to communicate effectively with it. I think anyway. But man, I think about that all the time when I'm learning, and I got that from you. And
What a
thank you very
blessing.
much.
Thanks
Oh,
for
that's so
sharing it
cool.
back to us. That's pretty
man.
profound. John, good
All right.
job.
Wow. Thank you.
I don't even think you said it on purpose either. I think you kind of said it. I think when you said it to me, it was kind of like an offhand remark. And it was just like, whoa.
That's what he lives. You shouldn't, I mean, this man practices. He's always trying to help people get better. He's always trying to find ways for himself to get better. He's always challenging himself. We'll be sitting on the couch and he's like working on a sheet or something. So it's an inspiration. And he works to own everything he does.
Well, as much or a lot of it for me is I just really want to stay interested in what I'm working on. Do you know what I mean? Because if I'm not interested, that's one of the things that's always been kind of a quandary is that I play something for a certain length of time, and then I kind of reach a point where I start to get tired of it, and I start getting interested in something else. So I start working on that, and then I don't know.
There's so many things to work on.
Yeah.
But it's kind of satisfying to get something really well down.
Yeah.
And I think it becomes more enjoyable too. There's this freedom, and there's nothing that would hold you back. If you really know the song, you really know the scale, you feel comfortable in the chords, it's a wonderful feeling. It's like having a conversation with your best friend. And,
one of the things that I always feel like I need to work on is that, like, when I'm improvising, I'll listen to myself play, and on a good night, I'll like finish the improvisation and think to myself, I think I got that about 85% right. So what I've been working on more lately is really playing things and like really playing what I actually mean to play, not just a series of predetermined licks, but also have it come out the way I envision it in my head. So and what's hard about that is that sometimes when I play exactly what I envision in my head, when I hear it out loud, it doesn't sound as cool as it did with my head.
But I think the more vocabulary you have, the more things fall into your head.
Yeah.
If you don't have a wide array of licks, then you're going to gravitate to the one or two that you already know. But if learning licks is kind of a cool thing too in itself. I mean, you don't want to only play the licks that are written. You want to make your own. Yeah. But I think it's a great foundation to start with some licks.
But I just want to jump in. So Dana, there was another student that I had that's with the same name of yours as yours, who I had taught previously.
All the way back in the Walpole music days.
Dana White. I bet you mean
is that what it is? Okay, that's why.
Oh my gosh, it's
Dana
very
White.
Similar.
Yeah.
Dana White and Dana Wright. So this is Dana Wright.
But yes, you look great.
Thanks for joining us. Did someone have a question? There was one coming up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I apologize for jumping in there, Julie, but you said something there that sparked an idea. So you're talking about building vocabulary. Do you guys build your vocabulary through, writing licks, copying other people's licks, through improvising? Like, how do you build your syntax and grammar on the guitar?
Well, I have learned so many other people's songs. It's so funny. So I haven't necessarily said, this is my vocabulary. It's just when you learn a solo and then you're improvising, that phrase is in your mind and it just comes out. Yeah. It's like, oh, I learned how to say cat. Then you're like, you can use cat in a sentence.
Sure.
Almost. That's kind of how it works. But I do spend a little time working on my own patterns and picking and things like that and arpeggios. I don't ever, when I'm playing a song, play a scale. Sometimes I'll do a run that kind of goes down a scale and moves that way. But I think for the most part, like John was saying, we tend to pick a melodic phrase that goes with the chord. That's really what we strive for. But the cool thing about the scale is that you're organizing all the notes alphabetically to go over the chord and then getting it under your fingers. So you're getting it in your ears, you're getting the mechanics of it. And then when you decide to move up the neck, you still have that sound in your ears. And it just feels more natural when you move it around, and because you don't only want to stay in 4 frets either.
Yeah.
But definitely, I would say, should we give a challenge? Well, we haven't heard from everyone. I want to make sure we hear from everyone, and then we're going to talk about next time.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next? Dave C.
All right. Thank you for doing this. So my primary focus right now is actually kind of on songwriting and chord substitutions and what I can get away with chords in the song. I typically, throughout my guitar hobby life, have avoided soloing like the plague. And at times, if I have had to, I have not gotten past minor pentatonic. And so since I'm not so fluent, I confess that I will end up, if it's semi-rocky bluesy, I will bend notes because, then you don't have to play that many more because you're, merging them all into one, right?
There's nothing wrong with that approach. I love that.
Yeah.
I think, is it mainly because the skill level holds you back, or you just don't really have interest, or you kind of you're in a comfort zone with your pentatonics?
That's a good question. I don't feel like I have mastery over minor pentatonics either. So looking at this today, right before it started, I'm like, I got my work cut out for me. So,
all right, we got some good tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Steve Marchena.
Steve Marchena.
We know who you are, but they don't.
First of all, Julie and John, thank you so much for organizing this. I've been playing guitar for about 36 years, and I met John about 33 years ago. Julie, I've known Julie about 10 years, and we've all gotten a chance to play some music together. You asked, what I wanted out of this this type of meeting. Well, there's 2 things. One is, everybody here knows that John is a guru of the guitar. And I was so lucky that, John, I got to meet you when I was so young. But I'll say there's 2 levels to that. One is that you're amazing. The other one is that there's so many concepts that I've been working on now for 36 years that I got from you. And whenever I have the opportunity to listen to you talk about this stuff, it'll always give me a fresh perspective, even just on things like the fundamentals. Dana had said something, you say something offhand. I know exactly what you mean, Dana, because you just you talking, John, you give me so much insight into things that I'm thinking about all the time. Just 2 quick things that are specific. One is that you mentioned, the A major and F sharp, Aeolian at the same scale. In that class, you did something that changed my life. John took a chair that was in the class. He's like, does everybody agree this is a chair? Yeah, okay, right? This is how you expect a chair to be, right? And then he flipped the chair kind of quickly, right? Like, we weren't expecting that, John. And you flipped it over. And the question is it still the same chair? Well, kind of. It has sort of the same ingredients, just like 2 scales might have the same notes in it. But we're using it in a different way. We've changed the position. And everything that I ever do that has to do with modes, any type of modes, I go back to what you did with the chair. And the last thing that I have to admit is that I have a particular interest in the ability for us to do things, whether you're doing it on Zoom or any teleconferencing. It's very new that this is happening on the scale that it is. And, you talking about how you use the mixer and Zoom, thank you. Because this is something I've experimented with, but the setup that you described, I hadn't done it exactly like that. So there's Thank you for everything you're offering.
Oh
Well,
man,
you're
so
welcome.
John jumped in right in the beginning.
So
it was
one-
such a struggle
And
to
one
teach.
one of the things I can tell you is that I experimented with every version of that I could possibly come up with, you know, and that was the only solution. Like, I didn't like the solution because it felt clunky, you know. But when I set it up that way, it was the only way that I could get it to actually work and sound the way I wanted it to sound. The best thing about it was that the mix that we're hearing in our headphones is exactly what you're hearing.
Yeah, and it's reliable.
And it's reliable,
Which
and
has
it's
been-
solid.
wow.
So that's why we do it.
Yeah.
You know.
So, but it's a great way for us to be able to share,
Yeah.
because we know that Zoom is not ideal for music, but they've made some changes.
Yeah, and
We've
it's getting
adopted
better.
them, and so I'm excited to. If you guys ever feel that we can hear you and you can play and have this as a
Yeah.
format for trying things and feeling safe.
Yeah, I would
You know?
love it if you if this ends up becoming a regular thing, that if you're able to do that, it would be cool if we put out an idea and then everybody can sort of try their version of it. And I think the way that's going to work is if you have a similar setup on your side, you can play the track, improvise, and then we can kind of throw ideas around that. Like that, you know, one of the things I've learned from
That'd be fun
teaching
for us.
is that it's rarely about the idea that I teach, and always about how the students respond to what I teach.
Yeah.
That's where the gold always is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you,
I'm
Steve.
really happy you're here too.
Robert, so sorry to keep you waiting.
Last but not least, our friend Robert.
My last one? All right. I've been playing just about as long as Steve, I guess, 36 years, but 10 of those years, once I got married, they were out the window. So maybe 26 of those 36 years.
Okay.
But I
and
bet you
I'm-
were listening to stuff.
What's,
I bet
yeah,
you
yeah.
were still listening.
Lately, I started a software company, so I'm too darn busy and I don't
Wow, well, that sounds cool.
listen as I do now. So, but I look forward to, getting to the point where I can retire from that. But I actually saw you in 2018 at John Petrucci's event, and that was the first time that I saw you.
Wow.
I sat next to you and I kind of wanted to talk to you, but then some other lady cut in and she knew you and she ended up talking to you forever. But yeah, that's cool. I enjoyed your class there. I went out and bought your book on the modes, and after 20 some years of playing guitar, I finally learned my notes. So I got
Right
that.
on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Such
But-
good.
But lately I've been playing, and I'm a big Petrucci fan, and that event did so much it took my playing to the next level as far as technique goes and modes. I mean, Daniel Miller's class, I downloaded that and went through all those, and my picking is like tremendous now. And
Wow. Maybe
so-
you can give some tips.
so I've improved on some areas really, really well. And I'm in Cary, North Carolina, by the way. I didn't really catch where everybody was from, but it'd be great if anybody was around here to play. But I have I'm in a 90s band right now, which is good because I'm so busy. I don't have time to learn too many notes, but I'd much prefer to be like in an 80s band.
The 80s. There's a lot of notes.
Yeah, a lot of notes,
Way
just
more
the
notes than
Satriani
me.
Device stuff, that would be really cool. But
Yeah.
and Petrucci, I've covered some Dream Theater songs too, and put them
That was
online too.
90s. A lot of them were 90s too.
One of the things
Yep.
that I've taught at a lot of guitar camps, and when I got to the Petrucci camp, one thing that just absolutely blew me away was the level of players who were students at the camp.
Yeah.
Were like much better than I was prepared for. And then when I got there and realized that, I was like, oh boy, I have to like totally redo my game and just completely rethink how I'm going to approach this.
Yeah.
So that kind of took me by surprise, but it was cool.
It's cool. So, I mean, what I would like to work on is, I've got technique down and some other things down, but, and I can improvise, but I'm too much in a box, right? I'm not really breaking out of it now that I know my modes, but I haven't really worked too much on different, modes and chord progressions like I should. I don't have it all down yet like you do.
Yeah.
And we do want to start working on original music. My band does as well. So it'd be good to get into that. And I do love to improvise when I can get together, and play with, jam with some guys, but I'd like to improve on that. My vocabulary, I guess, is okay. But but it's just the whole chord progressions, all the stuff you've been talking about, earlier today. And
Cool. Well, I would say that the common thread for all of us is that we really want to get better at improvising.
Yep.
So in your opinion, we definitely would like to keep a backing track every time and some resources, but do you feel like it's a good fit to have something that has two sections where there's a simple section and there's some key changes, or it's a good tool this time? Okay, cool. So I think what our hope is that you will go home and try and experiment some of these things over the backing track.
So
John's got something
yeah,
happening here.
Are
you playing something?
Well, I will in a second.
He's looking for something.
I'm looking for a backing track.
Well, thanks for joining us, Robert.
So one of the things
for telling us your story.
Yeah. So one of the things I was thinking about was here it is. One of the things I was thinking about is that to Dustin's to Dustin's point, like in terms of building vocabulary, one of the things that I used to do a lot was if I was learning a tune to play in a band, I used to like sort of learn the guitar solo, but not really learn it exactly. So I would learn a couple of the licks, and then I would kind of get to a certain point of it, and then play that signature lick, but then kind of free back my own thing kind of in the middle of all of it. And then and part of it was when I was a kid, I didn't really have the attention span to learn the entire thing, so I would just kind of learn this sort of the I guess the what do they call that, the Cliff Notes version of the solo, right?
Abridged, so Reader's Digest.
And then I've been teaching this class called Rock Improvisation Techniques, which is it's like part ensemble, part workshop. And one of the things I do is I'll bring in a famous solo, and demonstrate the solo, but then also discuss like why I think this player made this particular choice. And so what I find is a really good exercise to do is to learn the original solo and then practice coming up with what you might imagine to be the alternate take that didn't get kept. You see what I'm saying? So you take the same information, tell the same story, right? But just use different, right? So, okay. So here's the solo for the Pink Floyd tune. Time. Okay.
Here it is.
All right. So here's the solo. Favorite part?
That's my favorite.
So now one of the things that absolutely blew me away about that solo was realizing that he's targeting F sharp over the F sharp minor chord, C sharp over the A chord, and then B over the E chord every single time. So what do you do with that information? You play the same script, right? But just play different licks, right?
Yeah.
You can see that it's not exactly the same solo, but it did use some of the same elements. You know, so the way that I practiced that was first learn the solo, then do an analysis of the solo to try to figure out what the high points might be, right? And then practice innovating those same kinds of answers.
And
You
then
see?
you have vocabulary.
Yeah. So maybe what we'll do for next week is we'll do that. Like
Are we going to
so-
get together every week? What does
or
everybody feel
whenever
like
we're gonna
for
do
their
it.
schedules? How often?
I'm okay with either every week or every other week. Or
Yeah, same here, every week, every other week, I'm good.
Right to that?
Let me see. Let's do. Why don't we say every 2 weeks?
Well, because
For
we want to
now.
make sure we have fresh things.
Yeah,
But
Sure.
2 weeks would be good.
yeah.
I
Let's
like
do 2
that
weeks.
idea. Is Monday night good?
Yeah.
yeah, Monday night's really good.
Absolutely.
So you've got a question?
No, I was just gonna say when Dana was asking earlier about the scales and the arpeggios and targeting, John, what you just explained about time, I think speaks to that because most of the solos F sharp minor pentatonic, right? But
Yeah.
We could do that the whole
notes that
time.
you're targeting notes from the arpeggios, but you're not thinking of the whole arpeggio. You picked
Oh.
one note. Again, that's a Charlie Bonacco
third
thing.
of the
You
chord
pick
each time,
one
right?
note to think about. It's because you run out of time. If the changes go fast and you think about the whole arpeggio, you run out of time before you even finish the arpeggio. Think about one note from the chord, and
Yep.
that's so
Easy
easy.
to
It
go
was
with
awesome.
the
God, it
third.
was
Let's
awesome.
start. Let's
Yeah.
target the third. So
That's what I
maybe
got
what
out
I
of it
could
too.
do-
You're just picking target notes from, I don't know if it's every chord or every other chord, but yeah.
Yeah, every chord.
Every
Every
chord.
chord,
David
yeah.
Gilmour did that, right?
Yeah,
So maybe for this time, take the backing track that we made and find the thirds. You don't always have to play it on the fifth string or the sixth string. Find them all around and just hear what they sound like over. And soon you will be able to gravitate to the third instead of the root or instead of a scale or whatever.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we will put the time.
I'll put the
Backing
I'll
track
put the
up.
backing track. I'll put up the transcription too.
That way you can learn the solo and then make your own. So this sounds good. It's going to work out.
It's awesome.
So let me announce the next
Or the other thing.
Guitar
Okay,
club.
and actually, as a challenge,
20th.
okay, as an extra added challenge, bring your own. Like what that means is transcribe a solo, okay, and then play the solo, and then tell us why you think this player did these things in this particular way. And if you've made a backing track, or if you can find a backing track to
There's
it,
so many on YouTube.
yeah, do your own version of it.
And if you don't feel okay playing
It's a challenge.
live, just make a recording and
Yeah.
share that with us.
Yeah,
Or tell us what you learned. Because we want to know that you're playing and getting stuff.
yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fair amount of work, though.
Yeah, but you got 2 weeks. Steve's
Yeah.
up for the challenge. He's
Yeah.
totally going to do
Steve
it.
is going to do it. I just know he's going to bring us to a whole other level.
And Robert, what solo? Under a Glass Moon?
No, I might do like one of the ones from the new album, like the Transcending Time. I just learned that song the other day. The Rush ending one.
Fantastic. Ooh.
Yeah.
So tell us what's happening. Maybe you'll
See, that's where I fall flat. It's like I can play it and I can do it, but I haven't really gone through and analyzed the solo, right?
So all you have
It
to
just
do.
shines such a big light. When
It
you
doesn't look that hard. I mean, I don't think it's that hard to do anymore because I know my note modes now, so I can probably figure that out.
And if you have, did you learn it from ear or did you learn it in a book?
No, I got the transcriptions. I don't have time to do things by. I was that kid in the old days that paid the fortune for the Marantz recording and recorder and then slowed everything
There's
down.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So, but you
Yeah.
can go in and see. Do you read music at all? You can see.
I do. So
Yeah.
Evan Bradley, he gave me all the transcriptions for all the Dream Theater stuff. Yeah. And he's he was a great guy. He gave all that stuff to me and he gives them out freely on Facebook.
Oh, that's
But it was
very
all in
true.
Guitar Pro too, so I can play along with it at slow tempo. So I'll start out at 50% or some cases 25%, and then work my way up to 100. But
Yeah.
that's really the fastest way to learn something in the world.
That's
There's
how
no
you're
way
practicing
faster.
perfectly.
Yeah.
There's
Perfect.
no way faster to learn something than Guitar Pro, honestly, if you have the music there.
Yeah.
I love Guitar Pro.
Yeah.
I use it too. That's how I make
Robert, I was going to ask if you got those transcriptions from Evan Bradley. For the life of me, I don't know how he gets them out there so fast.
Yeah, no kidding. That guy is incredible.
It's got to have perfect pitch. That's all I can think.
He won that, he won that competition, right? Master Petrucci, right?
Something
And,
with Petrucci, yeah.
yeah.
Transcriptions were out. Obviously Robert and I are both networked with this guy. He sent us the transcriptions within what, a day or two of the album?
Seriously, it was ridiculous. So
Wow.
quick. Yeah.
And I mean,
But
we all know
to
that's
tell the
not
truth,
exactly easy music to transcribe.
But he does get the solo tracks from Petrucci though. He told me that. So he's able
Yeah,
to.
I'm not shocked by that.
Yeah.
He must have the stems. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's amazing. I do a fair amount of transcribing, but the software I use is Finale, which looks, in my opinion, looks better than Guitar Pro, but it's a much more difficult
It's very
program.
finicky.
It's to get, the thing I like about it is that you can get the music to look any way you want to.
Yeah, there's so many neat variables. Guitar Pro there's certain things it just does and you can't change it.
Yeah.
But I've learned a lot about it.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
But I'm much slower than that as far as transcribing
slow.
goes. Yeah. But
Real
it's all
Aren't we all?
yeah.
It gets better though. Each one I'm like, wow, cool. I did
Yeah.
it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right, so our next session will be Monday, December 20th. And if it's okay with you, I will just have them on Facebook, or no, not Facebook, but YouTube. And I'll send out the links each time. I think I'll try to get the next one out a little more.
Yeah.
So you have a little more time to check it out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to wire internet up to my music room because the connection up there was so bad. I had to come down here, and
Oh, is that what happened?
it'd be great to plug in my XFX and get that into the Zoom, but
Yeah.
I'm going to have to figure out.
It's going well.
Yeah,
So you maybe have a way to so I would suggest
Hardwire maybe?
yeah, if you
Ethernet
can
cable?
hardwire, that's probably the best option.
I made a bunch of money for a friend of mine, who bought Hedera H-bar really low. So he said he was going to hardwire my house for me.
Sweet. You'll have the best internet in town.
Yeah, I got to get him to do that in the next couple of days or next couple of weeks now, I guess.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
2 weeks
Yeah.
deadline.
yeah,
Got
well
to-
there
we'll keep it going though. You don't
Yeah.
have to only do 2 weeks.
yeah, definitely. Oh, hey,
So,
listen, great. Thank you.
we're blessed by all of you.
Thank you for showing up. This is going to be a
Thank
lot of
you.
fun.
Thank you for doing this,
If
guys.
you feel up to it and you want to make a little donation to us, you can send John at John Finn PayPal
But PayPal is john@johnfinn.com.
or Venmo at
Um,
Juli Finn is JuliFinn.
Yeah,
If
you
you
wanna-
want to.
Yeah, do you want to put those in?
Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, careful of PayPal.
Oops. All right. Do we have any other announcements? Anything else before we go? This has been really fun. We're
Yeah.
super excited to do this.
Well, thank you guys. don't know if I can speak for everybody here, but I'm certainly super excited to do this with you guys over the ensuing months for, every 2 weeks.
Yeah, me too.
It's really nice to have a community of the guitar players and like-minded people to hang with.
I think
Yeah,
it's
I
so
mean-
important these days. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, if it blows up, we'll do it every week.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
So that's so we're just trying to figure out like the right way to do it. We've been doing it in an ukulele club for for a while. So
Since
we've
the shutdown.
yeah, so we've kind of gotten good at that part of it, but so
This takes a little
yeah.
more preparation.
Yeah.
And I want to be prepared and,
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
very
Thanks,
cool.
everybody. We're so
Very
excited
much.
you joined us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.